Welcome to Tell Me More Stories Told as podcast. Today we're going deep, deep into the world of something you probably use all the time.
Yeah, you use it probably every day.
It's the pencil.
That's right, the pencil. We're going to uncover its history,
I love it.
the science behind those HB grades you see,
The mysteries.
and even explore some unusual types of pencils
I'm already intrigued.
that you might not know about.
I can't wait.
To really understand how revolutionary this simple tool is, we need to go way back,
Way back.
even before what we know as a pencil existed.
Okay, so where do we even begin this journey?
Well, let's start with the word pencil itself. You might be surprised to learn that it originally had nothing to do with graphite.
Oh,
Believe it or not, it comes from a word for a brush.
a brush. It doesn't sound very, pencil-y to me.
I know, right? The word pencil comes from the Old French word pencil, which is derived from the late Latin penicillus, and that referred to a fine artist's brush made from camel hair.
So before pencils as we know them, people were using camel hair brushes to write. What did they write on?
These brushes were used for both painting and writing, especially before things like lead or chalk pencils became common. They were used on various surfaces, including parchment and vellum.
Fascinating. So brushes were an early form of writing tool. But how did we get from brushes to the graphite pencils we use today?
That's where our story takes a dramatic turn. In 1565, a massive deposit of pure, solid graphite was discovered in Borrowdale, England.
England.
This was a huge deal because it was the only known deposit of its kind, solid graphite ready to use.
Pure solid graphite. That sounds incredibly valuable.
It was so valuable that the mines were seized by the crown and heavily guarded. This graphite wasn't just for doodling. It was strategic material used for things like lining molds for cannonballs.
Wow. So this seemingly simple material played a role in shaping military technology.
Exactly. But here's where it gets interesting. People back then weren't as familiar with different materials, and they actually mistook this pure graphite for a form of lead.
So that's how the term lead pencil came about, even though there's no actual lead involved.
Precisely. It was a case of mistaken identity and the name stuck. But the discovery of this graphite deposit really set the stage for the development of the pencil as we know it.
Now, I'm really curious. How did they turn this solid graphite into something you could actually write with? Did they just sharpen it like we do today?
You might be surprised to learn that for centuries, the only way to make a pencil was to painstakingly carve it from a single piece of graphite.
Really?
Imagine the skill and patience that required.
I know.
English pencils were made this way until the 1860s.
Wow. Carved from solid graphite. That's incredible. It's amazing to think how much effort went into making something we take for granted today.
It really is. But while the English were busy carving their graphite, another innovation was happening across Europe in Italy.
Okay.
Around 1560, an Italian couple, Simonio and Lindiana Bernicati, came up with a design that would change everything.
Okay. Now we're getting to the pencil we recognize. What did they do?
They figured out how to encase the graphite in wood, creating the first blueprint for the modern pencil. Their initial design was a flat oval pencil made by hollowing out a stick of juniper wood and inserting a graphite stick inside.
Juniper wood. That's interesting. I wonder why they chose that particular type of wood.
Well, juniper was readily available at the time, and it has a pleasant aroma. It's also relatively soft, making it easier to work with.
Okay.
But their method was soon surpassed by another technique that's still used today.
I'm hooked. What was this new technique?
Instead of hollowing out a single stick, they started carving two wooden halves, inserting the graphite, and then gluing the halves together. This is essentially how pencils are still made today.
Oh, wow.
A simple yet ingenious design that has stood the test of time.
That's fascinating. But we were talking about solid graphite before, and now we're talking about encasing sticks of it. What about the powdered graphite we use today? When did that come into the picture?
The shift to powdered graphite was driven by necessity and ingenuity. During the Napoleonic Wars, France couldn't get those solid graphite sticks from England because of a naval blockade.
Ah, so wartime shortages often lead to innovation. What did they do?
A brilliant French officer named Nicolas Jacques Conté rose to the challenge. He found a way to mix powdered graphite with clay, forming it into rods and firing those rods in a kiln.
That's clever. But why add clay to the graphite? What does that do?
That's where it gets really interesting. By varying the ratio of graphite to clay, Conté discovered that he could control the hardness of the pencil lead.
Oh.
This was a game changer.
So more clay makes the pencil harder, and less clay makes it softer and darker.
You got it. And this discovery led to the grading system we use today, those H&B markings you see on pencils.
Wow, I had no idea. There's
Yeah.
so much science behind something as simple as a pencil. Before we dive deeper into those H&B grades, I want to remind our listeners to hit that subscribe button and follow Tell Me More so you don't miss any of our upcoming deep dives. We've got some truly fascinating objects lined up, from the history of the toothbrush to the surprisingly complex world of paper clips.
It's going to be good.
And we'll be right back with more on the pencil's incredible story.
It is incredible. Welcome back to Tell Me More Stories Told as podcast. Before the break, we were talking about how adding clay to graphite lets you control the hardness of a pencil,
Yeah,
which brings us to that mysterious lettering system.
right. Those H's and B's you see on pencils. So what do they actually mean?
The H stands for hardness.
Okay,
The B stands for blackness.
okay.
And you'll sometimes see an F for fineness, although it isn't really about how fine the pencil is, just how the lead is formulated.
Okay.
Your standard number 2 pencil is graded HB,
Hmm.
which means it falls right in the middle.
So it's like a balance between hardness and blackness,
Yeah.
a good all-around pencil.
Exactly. And now let's say you're an artist and you want those rich, dark lines for your sketches. You would reach for a B pencil,
Okay,
or maybe even a 2B or 4B, depending on how dark you want to go.
makes sense.
And what about those harder H pencils? When would you use those?
All right, yeah, when would you use those?
If you're an architect or an engineer working on precise technical drawings, you'd probably want to use a harder H pencil, like a 2H or a 4H. They make those fine light lines that are perfect for detailed work.
That makes sense. I've always wondered why there were so many different types of pencils. I never realized there was so much thought behind it.
And here's something else that might surprise you. There's no universal standard for those grades. So a 2B pencil from one brand might feel totally different from a 2B from another brand.
Really? Oh, wow.
So you really have to experiment to find the pencils that work best for you, even within the same grading system.
That's so interesting.
It's a bit like exploring different types of coffee.
Okay, yeah.
You might have your go-to, but it's always fun to try new ones and discover those subtle differences.
I like that analogy. Now I have to ask about something that's always puzzled me. Why are so many pencils yellow? It seems like such a random choice.
It might seem random, but there's actually a fascinating story behind it, and it all goes back to the idea of marketing and perception.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this yellow pencil mystery.
Back in the late 19th century, a company in Austria-Hungary
Wow.
called L&C Hartmuth wanted to make the best pencil in the world. They called it the Koh-I-Noor, named after a famous diamond.
Koh-I-Noor, a pretty fancy name. But what does that have to do with the color yellow?
Well, they wanted to set their pencil apart from the competition.
Yeah.
At the time, most pencils were either unpainted or painted in dark colors. To make a statement, they decided to paint their premium pencil a bright, eye-catching yellow.
So it was a way to stand out on the shelves and grab people's attention.
Exactly. But it wasn't just about being visually appealing. Yellow was also a clever marketing tactic. It was meant to evoke the Far East, specifically China, which was known for having high-quality graphite at the time.
So they were associating their pencil with the exotic and the high-quality products coming from China. That's pretty clever.
You got it. And some brands even adopted names that reinforced that connection, like Mikado, which was later changed to Murado, and the name Mongol.
Wow, so the color yellow was basically a way to create a perception of quality and exclusivity. It's amazing how color can influence our perceptions like that.
It really is. And the funny thing is, this yellow pencil thing is mainly a U.S. phenomenon. In other parts of the world, pencils come in all sorts of colors.
Wait, really? So what other colors are we missing out on?
Well, in places like Germany and Brazil, you'll often find green, blue, or black pencils reflecting the dominant brands in those regions.
That's so interesting. It's like each region has its own unique pencil color palette. What about other parts of the world? Any other colorful contenders?
In Southern Europe, pencils tend to be dark red or black with yellow lines. And in Australia, they're often red with black bands at one end. It's a fun little detail that shows how something as simple as a pencil can have different cultural expressions.
I love that. Makes you want to travel the world and collect pencils like souvenirs.
Speaking of exploring, are you ready to go beyond the familiar yellow number 2 and discover some of the more unusual types of pencils out there?
Absolutely. I'm ready for the pencil parade. Bring on the lesser-known varieties.
Let's start with a pencil that takes us back to those early days of solid graphite sticks. Remember those English pencils that were carved from pure graphite? Well, there's a modern version of that, the solid or woodless graphite pencil.
So it's like a giant stick of graphite without any wooden casing.
Exactly. Artists love these because they offer a wider range of possibilities for mark making. You can cover large areas more easily and create unique textural effects.
I can imagine those being great for shading and creating dramatic contrasts.
They're also more economical since you're using the entire pencil, no more throwing away those tiny little stubs.
That's a win for both artists and the environment. What other exciting pencils are hiding out there?
Well, if you're looking for deep, rich blacks, there's the charcoal pencil. Made from charcoal, it creates much darker tones than a graphite pencil ever could.
I've seen artists use charcoal for sketching. It seems to create such expressive and atmospheric drawings.
They're fantastic for quick studies and capturing the essence of your subject. But be careful, charcoal smudges easily, so you need a light touch and a good fixative if you don't want your masterpiece to turn into an abstract.
Good tip. I'll stick to my trusty HB for now. What about adding some color to our pencil journey? Surely there's more to the world of pencils than shades of gray and black.
You're absolutely right. Of course, we have colored pencils, which come in a rainbow of hues and are perfect for adding vibrancy and detail to artwork. But we're not talking about your average coloring pencils here. We're going deeper.
Okay, you've got me hooked. What kind of extraordinary colored pencils are we talking about?
Let me introduce you to watercolor pencils. They blur the lines between drawing and painting, allowing you to create washes of color by simply adding water.
Wait, so you can draw with them like regular colored pencils and then turn those lines into watercolor paintings? That's incredible.
It's like having two art tools in one. You can create delicate watercolor effects or bold graphic lines depending on how much water you use.
My inner artist is doing cartwheels right now. Are there any more secret weapons in the world of pencils that I should know about?
How about a pencil that can write on almost any surface? That's the grease pencil with its soft, oily core. It can leave marks on glass, plastic, metal photographs, you name it.
That sounds incredibly useful. I can see those being used for everything from labeling lab equipment to writing on windows.
They're also a favorite in animation studios because they create those smooth, bold lines that are perfect for working on animation cells.
Animation cells, what are those?
They're transparent sheets that animators use to draw on frame by frame to create those classic animated films and cartoons.
Oh, I see. So the grease pencil was a key tool in bringing those animated worlds to life.
Exactly. It's amazing how such a simple tool played such a big role in the history of animation.
This is incredible. I have no idea there were so many different types of pencils out there, each with its unique properties and uses.
And we haven't even scratched the surface of mechanical pencils, carpenter's pencils, golf pencils, the list goes on and on. It seems like the humble pencil has an endless variety of forms.
I'm starting to see the pencil in a whole new light. It's not just a simple writing tool. It's a gateway to creativity, innovation, and a whole world of possibilities.
And before we wrap up our pencil adventure, I have one last fun fact to share that I think you'll really enjoy.
Bring it on. I'm ready for another pencil revelation.
Imagine a pencil so colossal that it dwarfs a double-decker bus.
Whoa!
That's right. The world's largest pencil is a whopping 76 feet long and weighs over 18,000 pounds.
Whoa, that's massive. It's practically a pencil skyscraper. Why on earth would someone create a pencil that big?
It was a birthday gift for a teacher, a truly monumental gesture of appreciation for the power of education.
That's one lucky teacher. And speaking of appreciation, I want to thank you, dear listeners, for joining us on this journey into the world of pencils. I hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as we have.
It's been a blast.
We've learned so much about this humble yet extraordinary tool.
We have, and remember.
From its surprising origins
Yes.
to the science behind its creation
Absolutely.
and the endless possibilities it offers for creativity and expression.
The pencil is truly a remarkable invention.
It is. And it makes you wonder what other everyday objects hold hidden stories and fascinating secrets just waiting to be uncovered.
I think everything does.
I think you're right. Till next time, keep those pencils sharpened and your curiosity piqued.
And we'll see you on the next episode of Tell Me More Stories Told as Podcast.
See you then. Welcome back to Tell Me More Stories Told as Podcast.
Back again.
We've been on quite a journey exploring the world of pencils, and I have to say I'm pretty amazed by how much there is to learn about this simple tool.
Yeah, me too.
We've come a long way from those early days of camel hair brushes and carved graphite,
It's true, we have.
haven't we?
Yeah.
We uncovered the secrets of the grading system,
Mm-hmm.
learned why so many pencils are yellow,
Uh-huh.
and even explored the world of those less common but equally fascinating pencils.
Yeah, all those different kinds of pencils.
I never realized there were so many different types of pencils out there. each with its own unique purpose and personality.
Yeah.
And who could forget that colossal 76-foot pencil?
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
It's a testament to the impact a simple pencil can have,
It really is.
even as a symbol of appreciation for education.
It's pretty cool.
It really makes you think about the power of even the most ordinary objects.
I think so.
So what does this all mean for us, the pencil users of the world? Why should we care about the history and nuances of this seemingly simple tool?
I think it's about appreciating the ingenuity and creativity that goes into the objects we use every day, you know? The pencil is a result of problem-solving innovation and a desire to make our mark on the world.
Yeah, to leave our mark.
Yeah.
Every time we pick up a pencil, we're connecting with generations of people who have used this tool to write, draw, design, and create.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And in a world that's increasingly digital, the pencil remains a powerful tool for analog expression. It allows us to slow down, connect with our thoughts, and create something tangible.
It does. It's so true.
There's a certain magic to putting pencil to paper. It's a direct link between our minds and the page, unfiltered by screens and algorithms.
It's a very direct connection.
Well said.
Yeah.
And with that, we've come to the end of our deep dive into the world of pencils. I hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as we have.
I did.
I think we all learned a lot about this humble,
We did.
yet extraordinary tool.
It is extraordinary.
And it makes you wonder what other everyday objects hold hidden stories and fascinating secrets just waiting to be uncovered.
Right. Like what's next?
Exactly. Until next time, keep those pencils sharpened and your curiosity piqued.
And we'll see you next time on Tell Me More Stories Told as Podcast.
Bye!